Now, new polling has shown that a majority of Australians want our leaders to stop re-litigating historical grievances about Australia Day, reject divisive identity politics and refocus on unity. I mean, I made the point earlier in the program that I think Australia Day on the 26th of January is savable, but I think one of the things we should do is make it very positive that we pay tribute to the great volunteers around our nation, around our country. I mean, just in the past week and a bit, in Victoria in particular, you've seen the fire brigade, the rural fire brigade, the CFS, just stretched to the point where they were putting out bushfires while their own homes burnt down. And then a week ago today, you had a flash flood on the southwest coast and people had to be rescued from floodwaters by the SES. So what about doing that? Our Friday night panel joins me now, Gemma Tognini from GT Communications, and of course our old mate Sky News contributor Joe Hildebrand. Great to see you both.
Hello,
Gemma,
mate.
if most Australians, particularly younger ones, believe dwelling on the past is dividing the country, why can't the politicians understand that and try and make Australia Day a much more positive experience for us all?
I think there's a couple of genuine reasons there, Pricey, and one of them is that we are governed by the biggest bunch of morons in living memory, and it's true. So if you talk about listening to the country, when have they demonstrated in the last period of government that they've actually actively listened to the community? I mean, the most immediate example of that is this Royal Commission into Anti-Semitism. The government had to be dragged kicking and screaming to that point. But another example about energy policy, for example, everybody knows that the government, that the populace broadly wants lower bills, wants the cleanest, greenest mix of energy that we can deliver, but without plunging half the population into energy poverty and ruining the economy, but it just is dogmatic about its ideology. So I don't think we have a government that is prepared to genuinely listen and genuinely engage. It knows how to win and win at all costs. That's the Labor mantra, but it doesn't know how to listen. And I don't think it cares. But the electorate hasn't given this government a reason to actually sit up and listen until Bondi.
Joe, it's a federal and state issue. I mean, when you talk about a place like Victoria, I was talking to a sheep farmer last weekend and he said, look, I've just been through 2 years of drought. We've got fires burning in our community. I'm in the CFA. I have to go out on a fire truck. And at the same time, the Victorian Labor government is continuing to tax us out of existence by putting on an emergency services levy that we all have to pay at some point. I mean, seriously? I mean, I think Gemma's right in the sense that senior politicians of state and federal types are out of touch.
Yeah, look, I'm not sure if it's certainly not the federal government that is going after Australia Day. It's basically the Greens. It's the same tired old activists who jump up and down. And I can tell you, I'll let the cat out of the bag a bit, but there's a story in tomorrow's Saturday Telegraph that got new polling that shows that January 26 has a huge amount of support. I won't reveal it, go and buy the paper, but January 26 has a huge amount of support and the people who oppose it are basically Greens voters and, inner city activist types. So I think that tells you everything you need to know. The amount of noise that you hear over a certain issue is not the same thing as the amount of support for it. The loudest people does not mean the most people. So I think that's important to start with. I think it's great. We should definitely have a day, I think, that celebrates volunteers. I think there's already something on the calendar, but why not give people a day off as well? I'm always in favour of that. But Australia Day, I think, should be a day where we do look forward, but also, acknowledge our past. I love Noel Pearson's idea of having, 2 Australia Days. You celebrate on the 25th, you reflect on the vastness of Indigenous culture, and then on the 26th, you celebrate the arrival of the Europeans and the migrants. I think he even had a 3rd day in there. That might be pushing it a bit. But you celebrate the migrant country that we are because, migrants to this country love Australia.
But migrants don't want a 3rd day. We don't want a 3rd day. Speaking on behalf of my people, we don't want a 3rd day.
No, that's right. But anyway, a point being, I did some work for the Australia Day Council years ago, and the polling that they had showed that among people from overseas, they absolutely love Australia Day. They feel so incredibly grateful to live here. And I think some of us can take it for granted. And I think a lot of those people are out there jumping up and down on January 26th saying, it's stolen land and always was, always will be.
Yeah, but I mean, tomorrow Tomorrow, Gemma, we're going to have the same tired old faces, the smoking ceremonies, the welcome to country. They've even got in Melbourne at camp, one of the camps they've got set up somewhere, they're going to have a dawn service. I mean, I thought a dawn service, and I've written about this in the Herald Sun today, a dawn service is about the troops in World War I, particularly those in Anzac Cove, waiting for it to get light so they could prepare themselves to go and fight for their country, for God's sake.
I mean, these are the broadly speaking, as Joe said, these are the inner city activists who are the first to sook and whinge about things like cultural appropriation and this appropriation. I mean, this is actually a bit shameless in my view, and shameful rather in my view, and scandalous. I mean, cultural appropriation, OK, let's shut down every pizza joint that's not run by an Italian. It's just a nonsense proposition. Yeah, right. I agree with a lot of what Joe had to say there in terms of, you know, it is the squeaky wheel. And my point around government was too often federal and state governments don't shut it down. They give it oil. They don't shut it down.
They don't.
They just entertain it and try to have a buck each way.
And particularly in Victoria, it happens, and it happens in all the other states as well. Sorry to cut you short, guys. I'll talk to you next week. Gemma and Joe Hildebrand there.